Hello, this is Mihai here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to implement a retry policy or a do-while loop. We got this question quite a lot from people that were trying to implement a retry policy when they were calling APIs or when they were trying to do something interacting with the system that at some point might fail, and they wanted to retry that action again after a few seconds based on different criteria. For example, try 3 times with a 1-second delay. That's one example. And for the purpose of exemplifying that, we have here a process that is basically generating an invoice, and after it generates the invoice, it uploads the invoice to a storage via an API, and sometimes that storage is failing, and then we need to retry several times in order to make sure that the file gets uploaded to the storage correctly. So how do we do that? At this point we already have the file that is generated by either one of those two actions, and we have here the invoice file, and we try to upload the file to an application, a storage application, that it's outputting on the body output, it's outputting the result, and on the status variable, the status of the call. Now, most of the times, this action is not going to fail. It's just going to return a status other than 200. And for that reason, we will check using a decisional action if the status of the API call was indeed 200 or retry count max variable equals 0. So what does that mean? We have defined a variable which is called retry count max, which basically defines how many times should I try the same operation before I move on, because if you do not implement such a counter, you would risk failing over and over and over again and never getting out of that loop. So that is basically a fail-safe mechanism in order to get out of the loop. So if I try 3 times in a row, then I'm not going to try anymore. Okay, so let's take a look again at the action. So it's going to exit this loop is going to exit it only if the status is 200 or the max retry count is 0. But keep in mind, initially we defined this retry count max with a default value of 3. So when the process starts, this variable already has the value 3. And if the status of the call is not 200, then obviously, and the retry count max is not equal to 0, then it's going to go on the default branch of the decisional, which is this action where we deduct 1 from the retry count max. So now at the first loop, the retry count max is going to be 2. On the second loop is going to be 1, and on the final loop is going to be 0, then it's going to exit the loop. So that's the logic. Now, if you want to wait between the retries, then it's just easy. You can add a delay in the default loop. And that's how you do it. Let's say we should wait for 1 second and then try again. This is how you implement the retry policy. You can make it as complex as you need it. And this is how you do a do-while. Basically, this is a basic do-while, which is going to do this loop while the conditions are true. Hope it's of use to you, and looking forward to see what you build with this.